Hey guys, welcome to the Contour Lines Touch Designer Workshop. My name is Andrew, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys. Welcome to the Contour Lines Touch Designer Workshop. One second. My name is Andrew. Okay, yeah, my name is Andrew, and I'm going to teach you guys how to make a really simple contour line build in Touch Designer. If you haven't used Touch Designer before, it's a great way to integrate real-time AI with real-time visuals. So yeah, you can scan here to get the project files. And then I think you can also, yeah. And so also if you want to sign up for the API, if you have any sort of workflow that requires some real-time AI service, then definitely check out the Daydream API. Our Discord has a lot of information, and you'll be able to see what other people are using the API for. Yeah, other than that, lastly, today we're going to be using the Daydream Playground experience, which is a free service that allows you to run real-time AI without any GPU usage on your local computer. And yeah, it's great for experimentation, and it's an alternative for Stream Diffusion Touch Designer, which might be a bit difficult to set up if you haven't used Touch Designer before. Anyways, yeah, so this is what we're going to be building. Oh, someone says they can't hear. Hello? What if I do this? Can you hear this? What about now? Okay. And then, so a few things you're going to need. Number one is the contour file. And the number two is you're going to need the, what's it called? You're going to need NDI tools. So definitely download those two. A bit overview of this contour file. Number one is you have keyboard input. So we have this touch designer visual that is really, really simple. Let me just bring this out a bit. It's literally like 5 nodes. And then afterwards, what we can do is we can play around with our keyboard inputs to change the touch designer visual, like so. So press 1 to animate the contour lines. Number 2 is to move it up and down. Or sorry, just move it up. Number 3 is to make like less contour lines. And then number 4 will like quantize it into like rectangles or like straight lines. And then from there, you can still do all of the animation. And yeah, so, you know, this is using a really simple network in Touch Designer, and you can just feed that into Daydream. And from here, you know, you can literally choose like whatever you want, like rose, vines, thorns. And I'll be teaching you guys how to set everything up in Touch Designer as well as in Daydream. So yeah, let's get started. The first thing that I want you guys to do is to definitely download NDI tools. So depending on where you are on Windows or Mac, but you can just download this, put it into the downloads like so. I already have mine downloaded, but once you get that done, it will get you to install it. And hopefully this won't take too long. Yeah, okay. So it's going to be the latest version. But once you get that installed, you'll be granted with some, or you'll end up having this NDI launcher. But yeah, let's I'll wait for everyone to get that done first. So once you get this launched up, let me know if you guys are able to get this NDI launcher up and running. Because that's what we're going to be using for now. If anyone. Okay. Yeah, just like type in the chat whether you're done, if you need more time. We're not going to use it right away. We're just going to, yeah, okay, great. Yeah, we're not going to use it right away, so you can have it running in the background, and then I'm going to move on to the Touch Designer part first. If anyone has any issues with getting it launched up, just leave a comment in the Discord. And but yeah, so anyways, if we have that all good, you open your NDI launcher app, your site different. Do you have the webcam option? Okay, virtual input should be the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, so virtual input should be fine. if you highlight over it, what does the description say? If it says that you can send it to your webcam, then that is the important part. If not, it should work regardless. The icon's the same. But yeah, so once we're done with that, okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up, hopefully you guys already have Touch Designer installed. I'm going to open up an entire I'm going to open up an entire new project file, and we're going to just start from scratch. Okay, so a few things that we're going to do. So number one is there is on the left-hand side, I'm just going to go through the UI really quick. On the left-hand side, there's a palette. We're not going to be using that. If you want to move around from your network, you can left click and drag like so. If you want to select more than one node, so these are called nodes. So these are different nodes. You can click on them to see what they do. So we have our parameter on the right-hand side, and then we can click through, and there are different colors for the different classes of nodes. We're going to be using these purple bluish ones. They're called tops. And we're also going to be using these green ones, which are called chops. You can see all of them by either pressing tab or double clicking on like the empty network. So if I double click here, nothing happens. But if I move to like an empty spot, then I can open up this dialog right here. Hopefully you guys can see the dialog. Okay, yeah. So once we're done with that, right? Another thing that you can do is if you right click, you can select all of it, and all of the yellow highlights will be what you've selected. Another way that you can select everything is by pressing shift and left clicking like so, if you don't have a mouse. But this is good because you can move an entire network like so. And then also, if you press backspace or delete, you can get rid of everything. If you want to undo something, you can press Control-Z, Control-Y, Control-Z, Control-Y, Control-Z, like so. Right? If you've ever used like a text editor, yeah, undo and redo. Okay, so we're going to select everything, and then we're going to delete everything, and we should be in an empty network, like so. Okay, so from there, what we want to do is we're going to open up our create dialog, and we're going to look for a noise. So a few ways you can do this. You can either look like carefully, everything's in alphabetical order so you can find it, or you can type in this. There's a little search box at the very top left, and this right here will get you what we need, which is a noise. So yeah, depending on how you want to do it, you just want to bring this up here. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we have a bunch of parameters on the right-hand side. So we're going to play around with those. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the seed to 1. I'm going to change the period to 2, like so. Then I'm going to change my harmonics to be 7, like so. And I'm just replacing it by editing the text box. And then, one second. Okay. And then harmonic spread, I'm going to do to 0. And then harmonic gain, I'm going to increase it slightly. I'm doing 0.78. I'm going to change my amplitude to be 4.2. So. And then in every single every single node, there is a list of parameters, and they're in kind of like sections. So you have noise, transform, output, and common. You can click on these to scroll through all of them. We are on noise. We're going to go into the common. And in the common, we're going to change two things. First, we're going to change the resolution. So I'm going to change this to 500 by 12. Sorry, 512 by 512. And then I'm also going to change my pixel format. So there's a bunch of pixel formats right here. And what we want to do is there's going to be one that's called 32-bit float RGBA. So the last, we're going to change our last option to be this one. 32-bit float RGBA. Okay. So now, once we get that going, I'm going to move my network slightly to the left. Then I'm going to get another node. And so I'm going to open up my create dialog again. And this time I'm going to search up a limit like here. Okay, so when you open up some nodes in Touch Designer, they're going to need a connection. So this is what we call an input, and then this is what we call an output. Inlet, outlet, just think about it as like wires connecting to each other. So some of these nodes will require an inlet or like a connection. Otherwise, there's going to be an error that says that there's not enough sources. And you can figure out what the error is simply by clicking on that little X button right there. So if we have not enough sources specified, that means that this node requires a source to be specified. So we're going to take this outlet right here, and we're going to connect it into the limit, like so. Okay. So now what we want to do is we're not actually going to play with this first tab. We're going to play with the second tab right here. And this second tab, we're going to have a quantized value, and we're also going to have a quantized position. We're going to quantize the value. And the way that we can do that is just by clicking on this drop down menu and then pressing round. And you'll see immediately that our image kind of goes from this blurry noise to a bunch of shaded parts, as if we're looking at like a map, like a topological map, right? We have like different layers of heights, if you know. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab another, now our limit's done. So we're going to grab another node, and I'm going to double click again, and I'm going to look for a math node. So I'm going to type in math. I'm going to bring this one down to here. So this one's the same thing. And this one is going to be the same issue. So we're going to drag this, and we're going to make our limit the source now, like so. Now, with this guy right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my multi-add tab right here. And with this multi-add, I'm going to open up. I'm going to click on this multiply right here, like the text, and I'm going to open up the number. And like this does the same thing as clicking as this box right here. It just gives us a longer like text box essentially. And the reason why is because in Touch Designer, you can use Python code to control a lot of your parameters. So what I mean by that, well, if I were to type in something like math.pi, it gives me 3.14, right? So one way to do that is by typing in the Python expression. Another way is like I can type in 3.1415, you know. But yeah, we're going to use Python here. And so there's two ways to do that. Number one is we can manually type in the Python by like memory. If you're about that life, go for it. But another way to do it is you can actually drag Python expressions out of parameters. So what I mean by that is if I go back to this limit, so I was on math, right? I'm going to go back to this limit. What I can do is I can hover over a parameter's like name, and it will give me like the Python name of that parameter and then the value. So that Python name, well, we can actually, what we can actually do is we can actually quickly just like, we can click on it and then we'll end up getting this and like dragging outwards. So click, hold, and then drag. You don't want to do it you don't want to click hold for too long because then you're going to open up this menu like I did before. But we just want to click and drag. And you'll get this little arrow key, this like little arrow that's pointing right. And then you can just bring that anywhere. Just like as long as you're holding it. If you drop it, then it kind of, or if you unclick, then you drop it. But that's okay. You can just grab it again, like so. So next, what you can do is you can hover over any node, and it will open up the next parameter or the next parameter box. So I was on the limit, right? And I want to bring this value step parameter into my math node. So I'm going to hover over my math node, and I'm going to drag it onto here, onto this multiply. And then you're going to get three options. You have a value, reference, and bind. We're going to do a reference, like so. And now you'll see that we have our parameter as we have our value step parameter as Python code. And yeah, if you don't want to go through all of that, like clicking, I'm also going to paste this right here so that you can just paste it into, yeah, you can just copy and paste this into the multiply. And all we're going to do is, you see right now is that it's kind of like, well, yeah, it's making it disappear. So instead of, and that's because we're dividing it. So instead, we're going to multiply it. So all we want to do is we want to go to the front of our Python expression, and we're just going to do 1 divided by, like so. Okay, and then, yeah, okay. So after we have this, the next thing that we want to do is we want to add a new node. And this new node is going to be an edge, like so. And with this edge, we're just going to bring it in, plug it back in like so. And yeah, there we go. There we have it. That's basically it, guys. Last thing that we can do is we can add a null just to round that up, like so. We're going to add a null. And then what you can do, if you think that this square is too small, you can also go into this null node and then click on this bottom right display. It's like a little tiny blue icon. You can turn that on. Now you can get it. Now you get it in the background. Okay, so right now it's kind of boring. So I'm gonna do a bit of editing, or I'm gonna make this a bit of movement, just by animating the noise. So actually, I'm gonna turn this off. You can keep this on, but I don't like it in the background. I can see this just fine. So yeah, we're gonna go back into the noise, and then in the transform, I'm going to be typing into, in the transform, we're going to go into the translate, and we're going to go into this third box right here. This third box, or this third row, also known as translate Z or TZ. We're going to type in this Python extension. Of times.second, and then we're going to multiply that by like 0.1, like so. And again, if you don't want to type it out yourself, here it is, as. Good. Okay. So now that we have all of that done, what we're going to do is we're going to go into our NDI launcher. Does everyone have this figured out? Does everyone have did everyone install this fine, the NDI launcher? We should have this webcam option. If not, let me know. It's gonna be necessary. It should be on your system as NDI. No one's typing in anything. I'm gonna assume that everyone has it working. Great. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're going to open up. Well, actually, not yet. Sorry, I lied. Before we actually do that, we're gonna go and we're gonna add another node into here. And the next one is going to be an NDI out. Not the NDI in, but an NDI out. Like so. And you can just keep all of this the same. And what we can do next is we can go into, now we can go into our NDI tools, and we're going to click on the webcam. And what this should do is that it should, what it should do is it should open up this little NDI webcam corner right here. And give me 1 second. It should open up this little webcam icon where all of your like stored icons are. And what you can do is you can right click it and you can open up NDI webcam. When you do that, you'll get this little default. You have 4 video outputs. We're not just focused on video 1. If you click on it, there should be a first option right here, which is under your PC name. And right now it only has a remote connection because we don't have any other sources. But what you see right here, NDI out, it has a source name, so called Touch Designer. So because this is not actually having a source, it's not going to come up. It's not running right now. But all we need to do is we can just connect our Edge 1 into our NDI out, like so. Then what we can do is we can open up our NDI webcam again. And there you go. So it should have a little Touch Designer option right there. And you can just set it like so. And like, what does this do? Well, it basically changes your webcam to be the contour lines. Like for example, pretty sure if I do this right now, it should work. Yeah. Now my webcam is the contour lines. So yeah, this is helpful because I'm gonna change it back because we're gonna need that later. But this is useful because Daydream, now we can bring out the Daydream website, the Daydream Playground, and we can go and toy around with our contour lines and get an output live from Touch Designer. So yeah, just scan this QR code and it should bring you to Daydream. I'll put that onto this side like so. Okay, so before I go into the actual Daydream, website, there's a few things that I'm going to need to do. And that first thing is changing my webcam settings. This will depend on which browser you're on. But with Chrome, it's pretty nice. You can just click here, or you can go into your settings. And you can go into, I think, webcam? No, video. Webcam? Let's start up. No, default browser. Privacy. Site settings. Okay, yeah, there we go. So in your private and security settings on your web browser, there should be a place where you can choose your camera. And in this settings place, it should usually default to your front-facing camera. Like, that's what my default is. But in this feature, you can manually change it to NDI video cam, like that. And what does that mean? Well, number one is that if I open up my NDI webcam again, I have a bunch of video sources. So by defaulting to NDI webcam video 1, that means that it's going to choose that like first source. If you put it into something other than the video 1, like 2, 3, or 4, like if I were to start this up with 4, it would be a completely black screen. So yeah, we're going to keep that into NDI webcam video 1. And you want to do this beforehand, most likely, because otherwise it won't update on the actual website. You'll have to refresh. Yeah, once we're here, we can go into the Create with Playground. And yeah, there we go. Now we have our little playground. So you're kind of met with this interactive fluids that you can play around with. If you want to change the input modes, it'll be here. There's a tutorial down here that you can watch if you ever forget where things are. And yeah, we're going to go into our input mode. We're going to change this to camera. And look at that. Yay. So basically what we're doing is we're overwriting the webcam feature on Daydream with our Touch Designer output. And so now we have a bunch of things that we can play around with. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just change this to like jungle vines. Yeah, I just changed my prompt down there. Okay, so now what we can do is we have these control nets and our denoises. So I'm going to close. So I think the best way to play, like one of the things that is like really great about, or something that I consider like a good output when it comes to real-time AI, is making sure that your output is like a good mix between your input and then the AI's like creativity. So what I mean by that is like if I increase this canny higher, like this is like too much of my input, you know? But then if I like decrease this canny all the way, then it's like, okay, now I'm like not really getting enough of my input. Regardless, there's a good way to sort of track like your, or like to see how everything changes. And when you first open up Daydream, it kind of gives you these defaults. What I like to do is I like to turn down everything like so. And I also like to turn down all of the denoise as well. Like so. Okay, so now what we have right now is we have this input and it's not actually doing anything to our output. And so now we can go through each individual like parameter and see what it does. So pose is for body and hand tracking, right? So this is for your camera. Like this is basically for your camera, but since we're not using our camera, if we increase this to like 0.3, it doesn't really do anything, which should make sense. There's no body right here. HED is for like smaller details. So if I increase this a little bit, it'll give me a bit of movement. If I increase it a bit more, yeah, now it's kind of getting a little bit more of that look to it. If I increase canny, well, canny's for like sharp edges. So this one right here is great for like the overall image, right? So if I increase this like here, right now I'm kind of getting like I'm getting all of those circles sort of popping up, or all those contour lines. Depth is for like 3D preservation. So right now this is a 2D scene, but I'm pretty sure it kind of can pick up that there's like a bit of layering here, I'm pretty sure. So if I like increase this, yeah. It's not the best because again, this is still a 2D scene, but it's trying its best. Like it's trying its hardest. It works really good once you sort of have like actual 3D scenes, which is something I really want people to like know. It works great on 3D scenes. But yeah. And then color is good for, well, color. Like it's good for maintaining this like it's good for maintaining the color composition. So if I increase this, you'll notice that it gets significantly darker. But yeah, play around with it. I think is a great combination for like a project like this is a bit of canny, like 0.3, a bit of HED, and then like a bit of depth. Yeah. And now once you have that down, you can like close this and you can go into the denoise. And then the denoise, well, it's going to do exactly what it says it's going to do. Like right now, this is like kind of blurry. But if we slightly increase this, we get more of a softer look. And, you know, you can still go around and like change this. So like roses, thorns, vines. And there you go. Right. So once you have that all down, you can go down here and you can save them as a rose workshop contour line. You save it, and it'll just sort of exist for you to load up in the future. Another thing that you can do is you can go into this grid right here. So right now there's like an adjustment scale right here, and then there's a little bit of a grid right here. And this is kind of good for like if you just want to see what denoising values will actually do, because denoising is like a bit harder to classify. So it's definitely something that you can just like play around with. This grid you can just sort of move around and you can see what happens and see what is like interesting, I guess. Like this is pretty interesting. This is a lot more interesting than the first one. You move it like up here, you move it like down here. But yeah, actually, whatever I had right there is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Anyways, anyone have any questions so far? If not, I'm gonna keep on going. Okay, great. So the next thing that you can do is on the left-hand side, there's a part where you can apply this prompt blending. So if I go and do like something like jungle vines, like so, then I get like a 50-50 split between like jungle vines and like roses. And, like I can drag this on this side. Yeah. So you'll see like now 6% jungle vines, 6% roses, 94% jungle vines. And you can do the opposite way. like so. Like, yeah, like it's pretty nice. Anyways, yeah, the replay is gonna be available. Yeah, it's gonna be available. You can check it out on our YouTube channel. And yeah, anyways, so once you get that all figured out, you can click right here to record. And this will record just the output. Me personally, I like to record like the entire UI just because it like I like to see the before and after. So another way that you can do it is if you download like any screen recording software, you can just screen record this entire browser. Anyways, I think from there, yeah. So if we go back to our Touch Designer project, try to keep your Daydream open. Like when you leave your Daydream away from the screen, like if I move it to like a different tab, it might kind of disappear. Like the screen might go black eventually. We're trying to fix that, but yeah, just try to keep it always open. But yeah, what was I gonna say? The last few things that we can do is we can play around with more of the network. So one of the things that I think is pretty interesting is going into the limit node right here. And you can click on so there's quantize and then there's quantize. Sorry, there's quantized value and there's quantized position. So quantized value gives you those like level curves, and then quantized position will give you like positional, like kind of like force them into different positions. And so if you press round, now you get this like square part. Now this is too aggressive, like you're losing too much detail. So what we can do is we can like bring this down a bit, like so. And now it's like really rectangular. Yeah. Another thing that you can do is you can go back into the noise. And then with this noise, you can like decrease the period, or you can increase the period. So. And so, well, what we can do is we can automate these as like keyboard presses. And so first thing that you want to do is you want to check, well, let's say we want to play around with this period. Or maybe, no, let's play around with this amplitude. Yeah, this amplitude makes it look more fun. Okay, so let's say that our amplitude is at 0.5, right? And then if we bring it down to like 0.2, there's significantly less contours. Or yeah, we want to change it to like something like we want to go from 0.25 to 0.5, something like that. Well, what we can do is we can make this keyboard activated by opening up the create dialog and then going into the keyboard in right here. And then this keyboard in, what we can do there is, yeah, we can map this into like a button. And like this could be your keyboard. This could also be like your MIDI key. Like, I don't know, any sort of input works, right? This could be like a hand wave if you could like capture that, right? Anyways, what we're gonna do is we're going to put so after the keyboard in, we're gonna add another chop, right? The screen one. We're gonna look for a math. And then from there, we're gonna connect our keyboard in into our math, like so. And yeah, we're gonna go back into our noise and we're gonna look at how that amplitude changed and what we actually want, right? Right now, our keyboard 1 is going from 0 to 1. Well, right now it seems like, okay, 0.25 is pretty interesting, right? Like we said. Well, where do we want it? Where does it stop getting interesting? You know, like where does it, like if I increase this to this kind of looks a little bit like a little ugly. So maybe like maybe like 0.45 is pretty good. So what I'm gonna do then is, okay, I'm gonna like make a mental note that 0.25, like we want this from going from 0 to 1 to be instead 0.25 to 0.45. So we can do that by going into this math chop and going into the range. And then in this range, we can do 0.25 to 0.45. Oops. So and now when we click 1, you have this. The last thing that we can do is we can add a lag. So we're going to look for this lag. And this lag, what it does is, right now it's kind of instant. We want it to smooth out. So now we can see that it smooths out. And then from there, I'm going to add a null, like so. And what I can do is I can press this little icon at the bottom right corner of my null2 node that I just placed down. It says viewer. If I hover it, it says viewer active. I'm going to press that. And then I can click and drag this. I'll get that same arrow key that I got before. And what I can do is I can drag that onto my noise and then bring that into my amplitude as a chop reference. So again, what this does is same thing. You get that text. I'm gonna paste that into here again as well. If you guys don't want to drag it. But yeah, now if I press 1, whee. All right. Yeah, and then you can make as many as you want out of this. My file will have a bunch more, but I don't think we really need to go through all of the options. But it's basically an example of like, oh, well, we can do as much as we want. And yeah, you can like, customize this as much as you want. Ooh. But yeah. And then lastly is definitely gonna be, so these AI models, they really appreciate noise. So what I mean by that is that like right now, I just have a black and white image and it's kind of doing its best to get like a desired output. Sometimes it might help to add a bit of noise. So if I add a bit of noise onto this, make this colorful, it's always good to incorporate this like a bit of color to your output. And then if I like maybe also translate this one with that same text and then bring that into here. Cool. You'll notice that now it kind of significantly changes the look. I'm like, okay, increase this, change the seed. And then, yeah, now that we have this like kind of like colored background, what you can do is you can actually increase this color, control that. to something higher. And now it kind of takes in more of that noise in the background. But yeah, yeah, it's always good to add noise. It's a good way to keep things like interesting for like, yeah. And then yeah, you can go back into this limit. You can like kind of quantize it. You can change up the parameters again. I don't know, like name style. Like keep it like Minecraft. No, pixel art. Oh jeez. But yeah. Other experiments. So much you can play around with. Another thing that you could do is yeah, so another thing you could do is I'm gonna turn that down again. Is if you go into this edge that I created, you can actually increase the sample step to make wider contour lines. So if we do like 5 by 5 or like 10 by 10, yeah, now we get like thicker lines, which is also kind of interesting. I'll change the edge color. If I make this into green. But yeah, there's just a lot of ways to experiment with this. After this edge, you could get another limit. So you can add another limit into this network. And then this one right here, we can quantize this position instead. All in all, though, being able to have this network, like it's a pretty simple network, but what it allows you to do is it allows you to easily create visuals. And you can also just like import your own visuals with InTouch Designer. Like I'm not the biggest fan of the share screen method. Hypothetically, would you? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they actually added a patch to make this fit a 16 by 9. Like if I do like 1080 by 1920. Yeah. Or like a 1920 by 1080. Oh, okay, maybe not 1920 by 1080. But it should. I know before they had a bug where it would kind of just auto crop into that resolution. But then it turned into a feature or something. Let me see. I mean, this is pretty neat. Yeah. Yeah, so we're actually coming up with some updates. So right now this is using SD Turbo. I don't know if you guys know anything about AI models. I know only as much as the engineering team can tell me, but we're going to be releasing 2 different tiers, which is going to be SD 1.5 and then SD XL. And those are like different tiers of like quality. And then also we're going to add IP adapters which I think are kind of like LoRa's, but basically like style guides for the real-time model. So right now it's like if I type in like pixel art, it's gonna try its best to like kind of give me pixel art, but imagine like, oh, I can like kind of like upload some sort of pixel art reference and then it just kind of grabs from there. Anyways, yeah, hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully this was easy to follow along. If you kind of got lost, it's okay. The recording will be up on YouTube and also on our Twitter. If you guys are watching the recording, feel free to join our Discord channel. Hold on. Okay, never mind. I thought there's going to be a link for our Discord channel. Yeah, but check out our Discord channel. There's a lot of people that, you know, share their own work. I also try to troubleshoot as many people as I can. There's also weekly, you know, these happen every week. Sometimes it's a workshop. Sometimes it's just me just building along, and you can join and ask. Yeah. If not, there should be workarounds. Try resetting your laptop or browser. It took me a while for it to work at first, but yeah. Other than that, thank you so much for joining. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.